Welcome to Actions and Limits. My name is Justin Atherton. I'm a personal coach and the founder of Confidence Unchained. With me as always is Paul Fortune. Paul is a business coach and the founder of A Call to Action. And together we make Actions and Limits. Welcome to the show, the podcast where we talk about the actions we can take and the limits we create. How's it going, Paul?
It's going well, Justin. How about yourself?
Everything's going good. You know, time's moving on.
That reminds me of a song. Every day, turn. No?
Yeah. You saving all your 80s questions for our guest coming up? I know.
I don't know if that's an 80s one. Isn't that a 60s?
Yeah, that's probably 60s.
The Birds?
So
the Birds, or was it? I think it's the Birds. I don't know. If anybody's listening, correct me if I'm wrong.
I believe you're right.
Okay.
Maybe our guest later, Nick ProFETA, will be on the show a little bit later. And I know you've got some your personal friend of yours, and you've got some insight into some things that he does. But he's going to share with us his business that he's got up and coming. So excited for that coming up. I was going through my notes because, as you know, Paul, I take notes for myself because otherwise I'll forget. And
you're very studious.
I mean, we can say that. So the issue is I tend to. So how I take notes, for those of y'all that don't know, I do the voice to text, and I text myself notes all the time. So they all show up as double. It's kind of redundant, but the majority of the time that ideas come to me, I'm in bed and half asleep, and I'll pick up my phone and voice text myself and put the phone down, and then I wake up in the morning and go, what the heck did I text myself? So the text I was trying to decipher today for a topic of discussion, I'll read exactly what it says on here. It's very cryptic. So it says, coffee talk and video about crying last at gas station.
Crying what at gas station?
Last.
Crying last?
Last, yeah. So I had to decipher this, and I'm pretty sure this was a text to myself about a crying girl at a gas station. So the whole autocorrect voice to text wasn't super efficient for me. So as far as being studious, I need to work on this. So,
or maybe your subconscious is Scottish, and you were saying last, crying last.
Yeah, the crying last at the gas station. Yes, that maybe in my sleep I tried to text crying last to myself. So about this crying last at the gas station, this happened the other day, and so I went to a convenience store, got something to drink. I come back out to my car. I get inside, and I see this woman crying. She's literally right in front of my truck, crying, and she looks very distraught. And I sat there for a minute, kind of looking at her, and I'm like, and she looks like she needs like some help. And so I decided to get out, and I started talking to her. I said, are you okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm having a fight with my boyfriend. He lives in another state, and I'm trying to find an apartment, and I'm having trouble but I have to be at work at this time. She had several things going on. Well, kind of gave her some ideas about apartments in the area to look at. Gave her a little crash course on some emotional intelligence, like I like to do, Paul. And, gave her some feedback, calmed her down, and gave her some directions that she needed to go or could, choose to go. And then I got back in my truck and I drove away. And I felt so good about that interaction. Like, I could have just left and drove home, and I may have never thought about that person again. But being able to, influence her in a positive way, spend a couple minutes listening to what she has to say and what's going on with her, and giving her some options that she can use, that's rewarding to me. So it's just something I wanted to share with you. It was just something that, like...
Well, it sounds like she could be a potential client for confidence coaching.
Sure.
Did you give her your card?
I didn't. I don't know if I mentioned that I was a coach, but it was just one of those spontaneous things that, she needed some help, going through a hard time, trying to make enough money to be able to get an apartment, moving from another state. And so it wasn't about trying to find a client. I mean, I guess I could have given her my business card, but it was more just that positive influence on other people and making that conscious decision to reach out to people that are struggling and going through something. So I got a lot out of that.
Well, yeah. The reason why I bring up, she could be a client is because you could really have helped her. Mm-hmm. You gave her, a 10-minute session where, she could have probably benefited having multiple sessions with you to, get where she needed to go, especially not knowing the state that she was living in.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, whether it was me or another coach, and we've talked about this before, I think that I think everyone would benefit from having a coach or a mentor, someone to have something to bounce things off of, and removing that stigma of thinking that coaching is bad or for people that are weak. We've
oh yeah, and it's a confidant. Mm-hmm. I have this idea. Let me bounce it off my confidant about this, and they can say, oh, that's a great idea, but mm-hmm. did you think of X, Y, and Z? And you're like, oh no, I didn't think about X, Y, and Z. Okay, well, I'm going to add this, and because you talked to it with a coach, you improved your idea.
Sure.
And that's basically what we're doing. You're fine. You're a lot of the people that we deal with are high executives, so they're very successful people. Mm-hmm. We're just trying to give them that edge, so they're a little bit above the other executives in the world.
Yeah, point out those blind spots, the things that they don't know, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's just another perspective.
Sure.
That we have because we do it and we're not in the day-to-day grind, so we're looking at a different perspective.
Mm-hmm. I got asked a very interesting question by one of my clients. They asked me, do you think that someone can have too many coaches? And my answer was automatically no. Look at professional athletes. They have a strength coach, a position coach, a health coach, a head coach, but all these different coaches that are giving them different insights, different ways to look at it. Like you said, different perspectives. And even if you have two mentors, two coaches that are giving you conflicting points of view, that's not bad either, because it gives you options. You can go, okay, well, I can see this side of it. I can see that side of it. And, maybe I meet somewhere in the middle, or maybe I choose one of those sides. So I don't think we could ever have too many people in our ear giving us insight. Now, if you let someone completely influence you, that's a different thing.
Yeah, you could also have that expression, there might be too many cooks in the kitchen. So, I agree with you. There's different coaches that you can have, and a lot of it will benefit you. But, obviously, you want to limit the voices in your head, because you don't want to be overwhelmed with too many people giving you too many different information. It might be a little overload, but I know what you're saying. You could have specialists. You have a coach for your mindset, a coach for your physical, and mm-hmm. for a coach for your health. So there's different areas that coaches can be experts on. So I agree with what that point is, but I would just caution you just not to have too many voices in your head and overwhelm you and make you apprehensive of making decisions. So yeah.
Yeah, I guess that can be how you handle all the information. If you take it like you have to do something, then you may be overwhelmed or get a little anxious. But if it's just information pouring in, and then you get to, if you're self-aware enough to just pick and choose what the information that works for you, then it's kind of a different aspect. But yeah,
Absolutely.
I like
Coaching gives you advice. You don't have to take it. You could say, Justin, that was absolutely crap. I'm not going to do that.
You're right.
And Justin's not going to be upset about it, because he's not in that field of work. I mean, he's just coming up with suggestions that what he might do if he was in that field of work, but he's not. So, and you as the client might have an insight, well, that's not going to work because of X, Y, and Z that Justin didn't know about because he never was trained on that.
Sure.
So it's all just
so
take
soft
it as a grain of
skills,
salt.
right? It's those soft skills that we train on. So
Yeah.
So looking forward to interview coming up. Let's touch on our sponsor real quick. Again, our sponsor is Frontline Standard. Frontline Standard is a veteran and law enforcement-owned patriotic apparel company, and they're based out of Texas. And with every product purchased from Frontline Standard, they donate a portion to a nonprofit organization supporting American heroes and their families. Frontline Standard is run by a former U.S. Marine who now works as a police officer, and he runs the company with his wife. And they wanted a way to give back to those who sacrifice so much on a daily basis. And the mission of Frontline Standard is to provide Americans with quality patriotic wear that brings awareness to and supports those who were and are currently on the front line. And Frontline Standard supports the military, they support first responders, and they want us all to look good while we support them as well. And if you go onto their website, frontlinestandardapparel.com, and use our discount code, ACTIONS20, that's ACTIONS20, you'll get 20% off your entire order. All right, our guest today on the show is Nick ProFETA. Nick was raised in Whittier, California, and at an early age developed a love for cooking. His love for cooking was so strong, he decided to major in restaurant and hotel management at Cal Poly Pomona. Out of college, Nick has worked for several high-profile restaurants all over Southern California. He is a very fast learner and has become a jack of all trades. There is not one area in the restaurant business Nick has not worked in. Due to his great skill to adapt and learn, he has risen high in management level and at times has served as a right-hand man for the owner of the company. He has aspirations to open up his own restaurant design company. And on his free time, Nick loves to paint and hang out with his wife and two beautiful daughters. Fun fact about Nick, he is an 80s music trivia guru. Nick, welcome to the show. Glad to have you with us.
Hey, thanks guys for having me. Great to be here.
Yeah, I know Paul was excited to get you on here and hear what you had to say, and so yeah,
absolutely. Well, let's get started on this. Nick, you've done something very, very rare that a lot of people do not do. You actually pursued a career that you actually majored in. A lot of people do not do that. How did you know that you wanted to get into restaurant management at such a young age?
So, when I was in middle school, I actually was selected as one of the top 10 students in my class, and the principal asked, what do you want to do? And that was the first time I really thought about it. And I said, you know what? I want to be a chef. I want to work in restaurants. So from that time in the 8th grade, it just kind of stuck, and I followed it through. The trajectory kind of changed a little bit. I went from just wanting to be a chef just to overall wanting to be in the restaurant business and hospitality business because I loved helping people and I just loved everything about food service. So I got my degree from Cal Poly Pomona and definitely stuck with it some 20 years down the road.
Did you have a mentor that helped you, that guided you through this process?
I have. Actually, I've had a couple of mentors, a couple of good guidance counselors at school. And then I had a great mentor, one of my restaurant managers. Right when I graduated from college, I was a server, ready to take the leap into restaurant management. And I told him, I said, hey, do you think the company would be interested if I wanted to become a manager here? And he said, Nick, absolutely, I could get you a job here tomorrow. But why do you want to do that? You're young. You don't have a family. You're not forced into do anything to be in one spot for the rest of your life. He said, what do you want to do? And I said, honestly, I would love to travel a little bit. I've always wanted to work on a cruise ship. He said, go do that. Don't do what I'm doing. When you're ready to, I can get you a job doing this. So actually, I heeded his advice. I worked on the beach as a receiver in a hotel, making sure all my lobsters were alive for a while, right at the golf course. And then a couple of years later after that, I went and worked on a cruise ship for a while. So that guy actually is one of my mentors, and we're still close today.
Well, that's pretty.
Tell me how the life was working on a cruise. Was it glamorous, or tell us the real deal?
Absolutely. So, one of the things about working on a cruise ship, everybody thinks you're going to go see the world. You're going to live off of a ship. Well, let me tell you, you see the inside of a ship. Not too much of the world. When you're working on a cruise ship, with international laws in most places, you don't really get any days off. They accumulate all your days off for the end of your contract. So you're on a 20-week contract, so you work for 16 weeks and they give you the next 4 weeks off. So you would work 12 to 16 hours every single day. And then, like I said, at the end of the time, then you would get all your time off together.
Wow, that seems pretty rough to have to put string those work days together. What stood out for you most, or like what's the most rewarding thing for you working in this industry?
In this industry, the thing that I love the most is it really is a good look at business altogether, and you get a glance of the customer service side, you get a glance of making products and production side and financial side, and you can do whatever you want within this business. Like, I really found a love for restaurant design, and I grew up in this business. So from the operation side, I think I really have an insight that some other individuals who come from architecture side or whatnot that really don't know what it's like to, when you put a wall somewhere, what that does to your service, or how it creates a bottleneck with 4 servers coming together. So being in this business, I've really been able to see so many different sides. And now with this aspect of the restaurant that I love and doing the design and the kitchen setups, it really is a great way to figure out what you want to do.
So you get all the behind-the-scenes looks at how everything works.
Absolutely.
What do you think is the number one reason why restaurants fail?
The number one reason, so 70% of all restaurants fail within the first 9 months. And the reason I believe that to be is because individuals think that that they're a great cook, or they have grandma's recipes, and that's enough to succeed. But it actually takes a lot of time to get your name out there, get established, and actually get the business to come through your doors. So there's not enough financial capital behind you. You actually need about 2 years worth of capital to survive the first year of operations. Is what's recommended.
It's like the whole idea of branding yourself on social media or something, right?
Exactly.
Nick, go back. You said something that we've discussed in the past in our pre-interview conversation. The fact that you've worked in different facets of the restaurant business, and in talking with you, I think that's why you've been so successful. That you've been able to wear different hats in the industry and excel at them. Can you talk to us the importance of being flexible and knowing everything to know in the business, and how that's helped you, promoted you to higher levels?
Sure, absolutely. So in the restaurant business, like many other industries, you kind of need somebody to do every part of everything. You have the service, you have production, you have maintenance, you have this and that. I've always been one, when somebody needs something done and they ask a question, I'll say yes. I want the experience. I want the ability to help. I want us as an organization to succeed. So in order to get that done, I've had to learn to do some things, some that I absolutely love and would do again, and others that are not so glamorous. like climbing inside giant ice machines to clean them out and this and that, but it's all a part of the job to get it done. And by being an individual to definitely take the interest and say, yes, I've been able to discover what I like and what I don't like. And more importantly, I've also gained the trust of who I work with, and I'm able to get promotions and work my way up in the industry.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful. There's a couple different levels to that. Like you said, learning all the ins and outs and all the different jobs that are there to be done, even the dirty work, and then building that trust with your coworkers, your supervisors, and being a leader, even if you're not in a supervisor position at the time, being a leader and taking charge and doing what needs to get done, earning that respect, earning that trust of everyone you work with. And then when you are in that leadership position, then you've been there, you've done it. And so you're not going to tell anybody to do something you wouldn't do yourself.
Absolutely. Yeah, I would say half the time in my positions, I don't have any direct reports, but it definitely wouldn't say that I don't have a type of leadership among the team. And I definitely, no matter where I'm at, I encourage questions. If somebody can't figure something out, ask me. I might know, and if I don't know, we can all figure it out together. It's in the restaurant industry, you will never succeed as an individual. It takes others to make it happen. The day you go into a restaurant and you see one person who's the server, the cook, the manager, and all the positions in the restaurant in one, that's the day we see that restaurant fail.
Yeah, that's pretty powerful.
Yeah. If you were to go back to Cal Poly Pomona and you were a guest speaker, what would you tell people in hotel restaurant management to do to be as successful as you have been?
I would tell them, keep your minds open. When you start your day doing one thing, you might not end it doing the same. So if you have the intellectual curiosity to find out days and be able to adapt, that's definitely one thing that this industry requires. So it definitely is the want to succeed and be able to solve your own problems.
And if they asked you what type of qualities you're looking for in somebody you're trying to hire, what would you tell them?
For individuals that I look to hire, I don't necessarily look for the current skills that they have, if they know how to work certain programs or things. It's the desire and the ability of the individuals and the wanting to please their customers, their team members, and themselves. Those are the ones that are absolutely irreplaceable in our business that you don't come across every day, and those are the people that we really jump to hire.
Sure, that makes complete sense. There's a lot of companies now that are, giving tests on people's emotional intelligence before they hire them, and it's to pick up on those kind of soft skills, right? The ability to work well with others and that desire to actually be there and want to work rather than just showing up for a paycheck.
Yeah, and Justin, being a listener of the podcast, your preaching on emotional intelligence definitely hits home with me. That's actually, we've had some courses in corporation that I've been in about emotional intelligence and how important it is to be able to read your team and read your customers.
Yeah, most definitely.
You mentioned that you have a desire to design restaurants.
Yeah.
Where are you in that process?
So the way that I even got into this was with a company that I was with that was a little short-staffed on the corporate side of which I was a part. We would come together as a very small team, and we would kind of look at all aspects of the business. And we had a new restaurant coming up, and a new architect was hired with a new kitchen equipment person, and they laid something out, and it just didn't look right to me. It just looked like a lot of things were making individuals, employees walk too much to get from point A to point B. So I got into the old Microsoft Paint in the computer, and I designed my own kitchen layout. And my boss, actually, it made perfect sense. He loved it. And we incorporated a lot of that into the design for the restaurant. And 3 or 4 restaurants later, with the within the same company, I was getting better at it and good at it. And I was more part of the process, and it felt really great. So I've actually am going out on my own, and as an individual, I have designed 4 individual restaurants for different concepts in Southern California, and it's been great. And my most recent project is actually opening this week, so it feels really good.
Oh, awesome! What's that restaurant going to be called, if you can share?
So I believe I can share. I hope I can. It's called Plancha Latin Kitchen. It is in Long Beach, California, and we are having the opening party this week.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, that's pretty.
I'll
cool.
expect my invitation in the mail.
in a seat, close to the kitchen, right?
Yeah.
So how do you market this new business, Nick?
I think that is a great question, Paul, and I think I'm still figuring that out as we speak. But I definitely love it when I get contacted through LinkedIn, Nick ProFETA at LinkedIn, or emails, nickprofeta@yahoo.com is where I'm at. And then I think my next steps is getting a business license. But currently I just do it as an individual.
Well, that's pretty awesome. And you said this is your 7th, kitchen that you've completed?
Yes, correct.
Okay. I mean, that's pretty impressive, just doing it by yourself, getting up off the ground. What are some of the pitfalls that you've come across in starting your own business so far?
Some of the pitfalls that I've come across in this business is the liability side is definitely making sure that there is all the verbiage there that I keep myself in the clear of any wrongdoing in case a measurement or something is wrong. In the design field, it's all about trying to get it right as much as possible, but until it's actually built, you can be a little bit off. So it's making sure that I'm covered in that sense, and then also too, really getting myself out there and convincing people that you need somebody to help them design something when they think they can do it themselves. Because a lot of times these are the same individuals that just come with a good recipe and think that they know how to do it. How hard is running a restaurant? Well, it all starts on a great foundation, and the design of your restaurant is definitely a huge part of that foundation.
Sure, I could definitely see that.
Hey, Justin, Nick is saying some great things there. It was coming in a little muddled there. Is the sound okay on your end?
Yeah, he came through. It was coming out a little bit, but yeah, Nick, the point you were making that these business owners that come in and go, maybe not seeing the importance of what you do in the design of the kitchen, the design of the restaurant, and not having that experience that you have. Seeing how it can be more efficient, like you said, with staff coming in and out and be able to move around in the space that's available. So
Right.
that's super important for them to see your insight and your experience in that. But I can see how that would be an issue, explaining it to business owners who just think that grandma's recipe is going to cut it, right?
Yep.
You're just doing the design. You're not consulting on the actual business. Is that correct, or did I get that wrong?
No, that is absolutely correct. So what I do is I do the design work for the kitchen and lay it out, and then basically that design then goes to the architect who does all the structural work on the plan to make it a reality.
Where do you see this business going?
I see this business, restaurants, I don't think are going away anytime soon. I think most of humanity would agree with me on that.
Yeah.
So I think the sky is really the limit. And like most other entrepreneurs, I think I bring a different point of view to this interest that I'm really that I love and want to be more a part of. So I think if I'm able to convey that to the right individuals, it definitely can can be something to get more work out there for me and be successful. But if not, honestly, I have a good time at it, and right now I enjoy it while I also have a full-time job. So it makes me fulfilled in the meantime, and it's a part of doing what I love.
And I think that's the most important thing, right? Is turning your passion into something that ends up being your career. And right now, maybe it's not the full time, but you're moving in that direction. And you said regardless of anything, you're enjoying what you're doing. And
absolutely.
And that's success in itself, right? It doesn't have to be a multi-million-dollar company. As long as you're happy doing what you're doing and enjoying the journey of discovering this and moving through this and figuring out how to do it, that's huge.
Yeah, Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon, said something that really triggered me. You can have a job, you can have a career, or you can have a passion. And the people who have a passion are generally the most happiest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that quote.
So do you, Nick, do you see yourself in a few years having a crew? I mean, paint the picture for me. Where would you like to take it?
So where I would like to take it, I don't ever really imagine it being a large operation. I imagine it being myself and maybe one or two others. Because honestly, to me, it's not about me having my name on something. It's about me doing the actual work. So I'm not in this to make a huge corporation and just have a stamp on it that I just happen to be associated with. This is something that I love to do, and I want to be the one to do it. And that's what I am selling, is that service and that design of what I created. So is it nice to have some help along the way? Absolutely. But this is something that is about me and how I want to do it, not turn it into the next Jeff Bezos installation.
So you said
but you do see it as your full-time job, though, right? Or do you still see it as kind of a side gig?
No, I definitely could see it turning into a full-time job. Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think if I was able to do that, that definitely would be goal accomplished.
And Nick, you said it's your design, and do you collaborate with anybody? Do you pick people's brains on what would work? Do you go into the restaurants and ask people, the employees, what would work, what doesn't work? What is your process?
Yeah, so I think having been in the restaurant business now for over 20 years, that's one thing that I've always watched. And having worked in many different types of businesses, or many types of restaurants, excuse me, and even on cruise ships, it's I'm always looking at how things work and how spaces are and how it is to walk through and watching other individuals interact with spaces and things. So it always is kind of like a lifetime of research in that sense. I didn't know I was doing research at the time, and for what? But it all is making sense now in this endeavor that I really wanted to get a part of. So it always is never ending. And then also, too, more important than my own perception on it is what are the business owners and the individuals that are making this restaurant, how do they envision it? What do they want to see? Like in the example of plancha, it's a build your own type of South American bowl that starts with a type of starch on the bottom and then a protein and then a salad or something on the top. And it's a walk-through process. And it uses a South American plancha, which is a griddle that gets very, very hot. And this is all in front of you as the guest as you walk along the counter and the line. So I couldn't design what I did without knowing the setup of the plancha and what they wanted to convey to their guests.
Sure.
So I just helped them do it in a way that worked for the best flow of the guests walking through the restaurant and the employees in the back.
Yeah, I'm salivating already thinking about this bowl. I'm gonna come in and eat and come back for seconds or thirds. So
There's a quality that you mentioned there, Nick, that I think you need in probably universal any business that you do. And I think you hit the nail on the head right there. You listen to the client. You listen to what they want and you present what they want. Is that correct?
Absolutely. Because in the end, we're doing this to get paid, or else we couldn't continue to do it, because we have to take care of food, clothing, shelter for us. So yes, somebody has to want to pay for this, and that would be the client. So without the client's approval and desire to want to do it again and again and again, I wouldn't be in business for long.
How do you handle a client who came up with some sort of concept, and part of their concept, in your head, does not work because of your past experiences? How do you handle that? How do you portray that back to the client without insulting them?
That's a great question. So what I try to do is definitely bring it up to the client first, and exactly what I believe the issue is, and then also present a solution at the same time, to not just talk and only be a naysayer and pointing out the negative things. It's about definitely having a different look at this issue. And then you come to the point in the road where they're either agreeing that it's an issue and they want to move in a different direction, or if it's a sticking point for them and it definitely needs to be there, then it needs to be there. And I either don't want to do the job, or I'll work with their desires. And honestly, I'll just work with what they want.
I like what you said there, coming up with a solution, because in my field of work, that's very important. You have a problem, but it's always good to have a solution to fix that problem. It may not be exactly what the client wanted, but at least it will soften the blow on what needs to be done to get the problem solved. So I really like that. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Mm-hmm. And being able to communicate with them and solve it together, right? Because we're not always the smartest person in the room. It's like you said with the restaurant you got coming open. It's like you didn't know all the ins and outs. You didn't know exactly what they wanted, and so it's that give and take back and forth. And going back to the emotional intelligence again, like being able to handle those situations. Maybe when the client gets emotional about it, they have an emotional connection on how they want it, and you, Nick, not getting upset when they tell you, hey, well, this is what I want, or this isn't how I envisioned it. So it all connects back to itself, right?
Yeah, and that's where definitely being in the business of design, it's a very personal thing, because it's what you helped come up and you create, and this is great, definitely do it this way. And if you get there, if I go to this restaurant opening and something has changed, I can't take it personally,
mm-hmm.
because it is not within me to assume that was absolutely the best way and everybody saw it that way. You have to detach yourself from, it's my way or the highway. When you hand them a design, you need to do it this way. No, it is all just a guide, and I'm just grateful for the opportunity that I was able to help. And if a certain aspect is changed and they put the door on the left instead of the right, you know what, that's their prerogative, and I hope it works out better for them.
Sure. And I think that's what's going to lead you to having the most success, is your mindset, Nick, and really being able to work with the customers like that and give them what they want, but in a way where you're like, hey, look, this is what's going to work. If you want to do this, we can. It's going to change the parameters, but still standing your ground on the insight you have and the experience you have, but still being willing to work with what they want. So I think it's going to get you far.
Yep, the old adage, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
You mentioned in our off-air interview that you like to paint. It's a stress relief for you. What do you like to paint?
So, yes. Thank you, Paul. I thought that was staying offline, but thank you.
Nothing's off limits to Paul.
Nothing's sacred around here.
I do enjoy to paint. In fact, recently I have been painting more of my pets, and currently I am working on a portrait of my grandfather. So I do like scenes, I like people, I like animals. Definitely no Picasso or Bob Ross, but it is very therapeutic, and that's why I do it.
I think Paul's itching for a portrait of himself. Can you make that happen, Nick?
I'll come to the house and I'll give you my look, and you can just paint me while I have my look with my pipe in my mouth.
Yes, Paul Fortune crossing the Delaware. I see it now.
Oh, that's awesome, Nick. Does your company have a business or a website you can share with us?
You know what? I do not at this time.
Okay.
So like I said, just
share your email with us again.
Email. Sure, my email is Nick, Nick, ProFETA, P as in Paul, R-O, F as in Frank, E, T as in Tom, A, @yahoo.com.
And you're also on LinkedIn as well.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Well,
Nick, I wanted to end this with a light note. I hear that you are an 80s music guru. Is that correct?
Yes, I'm more of a connoisseur than a guru, but I dabble.
Okay. Well, if you will indulge me, I want to sing you a lyric of a song, and I want you to give me the artist.
Oh boy, here it comes.
Okay, Paul, I'm ready.
Okay, you ready? Okay, I'm going to sing it, right? Hush, hush.
That would be Too Shy by Kajagoogoo.
That is incorrect. You want me to do it again?
Do more than 2 words. What is happening today?
Okay, so, it could be Kajagoogoo, or actually it could be Till Tuesday, Voices Carry.
There you go. Good job.
Oh my gosh. Nick, I got to give you credit for that. I had no idea what was coming out of Paul's mouth.
Yeah, I know, right?
So Nick, I know you're a fan of the show, and I heard you had a question for our segment of Ask Paul Anything.
I sure do. So, Paul, what
Yes, Nick.
is the one word that someone uses that you absolutely hate?
That's a good one.
It's a very good one, and I have an answer for you. The word is can't. I hate the word can't. That just drives me crazy, and I hear young people say it all the time, and I don't even know them, and I want to go up to them and tell them not to use that word, because you can. You just got to find a way. So I can go deep on that, but the word is can't.
Paul can't stand it when you use.
I can't stand it.
Very good.
Well, awesome, Nick.
All right.
Thank you
This
so
is a great
much.
show.
Yeah. Thank you so much for being on the show, Nick. We really appreciate you being here and sharing your insight and your background over the last 20 years in your field of work. So thank you so much for being on.
Hey, thanks a lot, guys. My pleasure.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
For Justin Atherton, this is Paul Fortune. See you next week.
All right. See you next Monday. Thank you for listening to the show. Remember to leave a comment and tell us what you thought about today's episode. Follow us on your favorite podcast platforms. We're on Apple, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, TuneIn, and featured on Podbean. Follow us on Instagram at Actions and Limits and stay updated on all the upcoming content. If you have any outrageous questions for our section Ask Paul Anything, submit them to actionsandlimits@gmail.com and your question could be featured on the show.